everyone. I'm Lisa Weber Curry, Clinical Manager at Ascension Counseling Center. You're watching Ascension Counseling Center's video newsletter, where we talk about the services we offer and how you can benefit from them. In this episode, I'll talk with Stephanie Turner about healthy communication in marriage, and Tatiana Brown will be here to talk to us about anger management and some classes Ascension Counseling Center offers to help us with managing our anger. Please stay with us. We'll have those conversations right after this. Hello, I'm Lisa Weber Curry, Manager of Clinical Services at Ascension Counseling Center. I'm here today with Stephanie Turner. Stephanie is going to speak to us today about healthy communication. Hello, Steph.
Hi, Lisa. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm well.
Okay. Tell us all about healthy communication, because we know that affects all relationships.
And that it does. One important thing, I just like to have an illustration first.
Okay.
Tell me something that's your favorite meal that you just love to eat. If you could eat it, you would eat it every day.
Probably something, foods dealing with seafood, any type of seafood.
So I want you just to pretend for a second that you're sitting in a restaurant, you buy, let's say, by the kitchen, and you smell your seafood platter getting ready to come out. Your stomach is rumbling like, oh, it's going to taste so good. And the waiter comes and he brings your, he brings your meal on a trash can lid that is covered in maggots, just disgusting things. Do you still want to eat it?
Of course not. I wouldn't even look at it.
Exactly. So this is what I think about communication when people do it poorly.
Okay.
They are presenting it to you in a very disgusting manner. So you have to be able to have a good presentation when you are trying to get your partner to understand anything. And when you have poor presentation, what happens is, it's just like someone is coming to you with food on a trash can lid. The importance has to be a great presentation that's given to your partner in order for them to have the ability to receive what you're saying.
Okay. So, in other words, if you give me that seafood on a platter that's dirty and has insects on it, the presentation is negative. It doesn't look good. Therefore, I perceive it as negative and it doesn't feel good to me. So that sets me on a defense.
Exactly.
Okay.
And when people do that, when they display this poor presentation, people have the tendency to react by their emotions. Their emotions basically lead them. But if the presentation is there and you have excellent presentation, your partner has the ability to understand and to listen what you're trying to get across to them.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So let's get into this deep. Tell us where we start with healthy communications.
There are two components that have to be there, respect and just being authentic. And respect means that, you know what, I'm listening to what my partner is saying to me, and it's I value it. I'm not just saying, well, my partner is telling me this, I don't care because you're being mean to me. You respect your partner, so you're in tune to exactly what they're saying. And being authentic simply means this: I'm here in the here and now with you. I'm in tune to what you're saying, and I'm placing myself in your shoes so I can understand what you're trying to get across to me.
Okay. Okay, I get that. So you're saying the two major components of a healthy relationship, and we're talking about relationships between couples, but that also flows to relationships with anybody, healthy communication. So the two major components you're speaking of are respect and being authentic. And I get that. It's so clear, and I understand how it can work in communications. But for individuals who have been in relationships for a long time, whether it's romantic, whether it's family, whether it's friendship, and they have argued back and forth, it is difficult for them in that moment to think about respect. So how do you start to help them retrain how they communicate with each other?
First, I want to establish how are they disconnecting from each other.
Okay.
So there's three ways that people usually disconnect.
Okay.
You have the tendency to move towards, and sometimes when you hear move towards, you're thinking, okay, well, that's a good thing. Well, actually, it's not. The partner, what happens is you're trying to, it's not moving forward as far as establishing a connection, but it's neglecting your own emotions and your needs, and you're so in tune with your spouse where you put your needs on a back burner, and you're thinking to yourself, whatever makes my spouse happy it's going to make me happy, but you're ignoring your needs. You're trying
Okay.
to get your happiness from your spouse.
Okay.
And that has the tendency to, like I said, you're neglecting your own emotions and your needs, and you're solely focused on your spouse needs, where you
Okay.
forget about yourself. And people, in the long run, you get a place where you start resenting your spouse just for
Okay.
that.
Okay, because you put your feelings and your wants and needs on the back burner to place your spouse's ahead of yours, thinking that that will make the relationship work. Okay, so, and then the other part is when people disconnect, you talk about people moving away from each other. Tell us what that means.
And so what that means is just like, instead of, hey, this is the issue, let's discuss it, that person has the tendency just to withdraw and move away from their spouse. They may be physically present, but emotionally they have disconnected. They withdraw and they just basically isolate themselves and keep to themselves, instead of saying, hey, spouse, I have this issue and I really need to discuss it. That person just says, well, I just rather withdraw and keep to myself. And they're thinking in their mind, well, maybe the problem will just automatically go away. We can sweep it under the rug, so to speak.
Okay, so to the spouse who's talking to the other spouse about the issues, the one who is withdrawn, what that looks like is they're sitting there, they're physically present with the spouse, but you can see that their eyes are averted in a different direction. You can see that they're totally have tuned out what you're saying to them.
Yeah.
So that's what moving away is about. That's a part of the disconnect. What's the third part of the disconnect?
And then you have moving against. So with the
Okay.
moving against, the partner, instead of, like I said, sitting down and talking with that partner, expressing, well, this is what's going on with me, this is my emotion, they have a sense of shaming the partner and blaming the partner for all the problematic issues. They lack the ability to take the ownership in the part that they have played as well. They want to portray the image as if I'm the victim and you're the problem. So I'm going to shame and blame you so you can feel bad and you can do whatever I want.
Okay. Give me an example of what that shame and blaming of the other partner looks like.
So that person may say, you know it, you're the person that caused everything. I hate you. You get on my nerves. You are the reason why our kids are dysfunctional. You are the reason because of this, that, and the other. They're constantly pointing the finger instead of looking in the mirror of themselves and say, hey, we both have played a role. They lack the ability to take ownership of their part in the marriage or the relationship.
What do you think all this blaming of the other person does to that other person in the relationship?
I think for that person, it makes them become even more disconnected with their spouse.
Okay.
Some people may go through bouts of depression because they feel like, you know what, I'm not worthy. If this person sees me like this, maybe it is true. And at that moment, they've taken ownership of someone else's feelings. And then that makes them, like I said, disconnect even more. And they may get into the point where they just totally withdraw from the relationship. And it creates a void within themselves.
Okay. So that's where you see in relationships, people are coexisting in the same space, but they're living two separate lives.
Exactly.
So they come together for the sake of the children, do the things that need to be done. But when it means being a couple, he's in one corner doing what he wants to do. She's in another corner doing what she needs to do because they've disconnected and they don't know how to reconnect.
Yes.
Okay, so that brings us perfectly to how do they reconnect? Because that's so important in a relationship.
Very much so. And so, like, when we're talking about, let's say when you're communicating with your spouse, there's two roles. You have the person that's the initiator, and then you have the person that's the inquirer. And the person that comes up with, like, let's say you and I are having a dispute, and I feel the tension. So what I do, I come and I talk to you, and I say, well, Lisa, I have an issue with this. I feel hurt because you said these negative things about me, and it really put me in a poor place. So I'm the person that's coming to you as
the initiator?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
The initiator.
Okay. Got it.
I'm coming to you, the initiator, and your job as the inquirer, you are to sit there and listen, not to jump in and give your thoughts and your opinion, because at that moment, it's all about what I'm saying. And in order for you to be in tune with what I'm saying, your thoughts and your opinion, in a sense, they kind of go out the door.
Okay.
Your role is to make sure that I feel understood. And when I feel understood, I feel heard by you. And it's in a sense that gives me a validation that, you know what, she understands and she's willing to move forward within our relationship. But what tends to happen with couples, they want to be in the exact same role at the exact same time. They want to be initiators, them both, and it causes them to conflict with each other. And each person does not feel heard. Everybody's focused on getting my point across, and this is what I have to say. someone has to be the leader and someone has to sit and be the listener.
Okay. It just reminds me of a saying our grandparents always said to us, all of us can sing together, but we all can't talk together.
Exactly.
So two-way communication is really when it's actually happening the way it's supposed to. One person is expressing, the other one is listening.
Yes.
But what we oftentimes we will see happen is while one person is expressing, the other person is formulating their response in their head. How am I going to respond to him saying this? How am I going to defend myself? Oh, he just said I never cook. I never do this. Wait a minute. I cooked on Friday. I cooked on last Wednesday. So they're formulating all these answers to what the initiator is saying, and they don't hear it. So talk to us about how you can slow your mind down and be in the moment and listen, and how beneficial that is. You said the second half is being the inquisitor. So how do we all of a sudden inquire, or the inquirer, how do we inquire about what our spouse is saying during those heated moments when we really just want to defend ourselves?
It's like you have to understand in that moment of, at that moment, it's not about me. It's about connecting with my spouse.
Okay.
So what that means is I have to be present in the here and now. And if your goal, you say, hey, I'm in this relationship and I want us to move forward, well then I have to adhere and listen to my spouse so my spouse can feel understood, so we can get to that place where we're moving forward. Now, with you being in that situation when you're the inquirer, it doesn't mean that you can't ask questions, but you can't ask questions that's going to blame this person or for you to get your point across. You ask questions so you can better understand where your spouse is coming from. Basically, I'm putting myself in your shoes so I can have a deeper understanding of what you're saying. People are entitled to the way they feel. That's fine. That's no issue. But it is a problem if you express it negatively.
Okay.
If I feel mad at you because I said, hey, well, Lisa, you said something negative to me, I can say that, but I have no right to tear you down negatively by saying something negative, because what happens is you're not going to listen to me at all.
Okay, goes back to two wrongs don't make a right.
Exactly.
So somebody has to listen. So the inquirer's role then is you're listening to what the initiator is saying to you, how they're expressing their feelings, their concerns. Your role is to question what you don't clearly understand so that you get a better understanding. After you've had that understanding, then you can start to express your concerns in the appropriate way. Okay, I think one of the big things you said a few seconds ago was that you have to have a goal. You said once you know what your goal is for the marriage, then you can come back and work together as the initiator and the inquirer in your communication. So would you say that as for healthy communication in any relationship, people need to establish what is the goal of their relationship, where do they see that relationship going, and how they plan to get there?
I agree. When I have sessions with married couples or just couples just in general, my first thing, I want to know, what's your vision statement? And they always say, well, what's a vision statement? What do you want to see in your marriage, let's say 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Because what that does, it gives me a foundation of, okay, are they on the same path? Are they not on the same path? And then it kind of gives me the direction of how I need to move with this couple. And normally they're on the exact same path, but they don't know how to continue to walk down the journey. They're, in a sense, you can look like they're stuck in like some sticky mud or something like that.
Okay, so they have the same goals on that path. They're just going about it in different ways, which isn't beneficial to them. So, and your role in helping them with their vision statement also lets them know where they are in their relationship, right? So once you learn that, then what are you doing next to help them engage in healthy communication?
So then, like when we find out the vision, then we look at what are they bringing into the marriage that has nothing to do with the marriage. Some people may have had poor upbringing with their parents. They may have experienced some dysfunctional things, and sometimes people bring that into their marriage. So let's say if a person had a negative experience with their father, they may feel that, you know what, I always have to be independent. I can never let my spouse feel that he is in control of anything. That baggage has nothing to do with their marriage, but they're bringing it in, and it has a major effect on the marriage. They may feel, I can't rely on my husband because if I do, he'll leave me.
So a big part of healthy communication is also knowing what baggage you're already carrying and that's unresolved, so that it won't be displaced on your spouse when you're in a disagreement and you're not communicating properly. Okay, so we've identified the roles. What else can we do to communicate healthy with each other?
Here's the thing. check in with each other on a daily basis. You'll
Okay.
be surprised how many couples that come home and won't say anything, or they'll give this generic kiss and a hug. That's just what I call a generic because
Mm-hmm.
it's so routine. They
Okay.
never, they seldom, let me say that, just sit down and connect with each other. So I would say sit down and connect with each other, go out on dates in a sense, get to know each other all over again.
Okay.
Because what I've learned that what couples do in the beginning, they don't continue to do throughout their marriage. So in the
Okay.
beginning, they may have went on a lot of dates. Then you get married, you have kids, and you're like, oh, okay, you're focused or more so on the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to put in the exact same work with your spouse as well, of going out on dates, just calling just to say I love you, sending a text to say I love you, because
Okay.
that person still needs to know, you know what, we love each other and we're still connected with each other. And when
Okay.
having that connection, it doesn't matter if you guys argue or not, as long as you guys are still connected with each other,
Okay.
it will be agreement, a disagreement, but it'll have a purpose of how you guys can grow and move forward within your relationship.
Okay. So you're at a point in your relationship, I'm just thinking, and I'm thinking about questions that people would ask because of problems they face. You're at a point in your relationship where you are disconnected. But one spouse has decided, I'm going to try and make this communication better, make this relationship better. So they text you, they call you randomly throughout the day just to check on you, say, I love you. But that other spouse has so much anger inside, and they still aren't at the point where they feel like I can trust you or this is a healthy relationship. How do you help that person reach that other spouse?
I would say, like, really just keep on modeling those exact same behaviors.
Okay.
Let that person know, hey, I'm here for you. I'm not going anywhere. I want to be here to support you. And by you continually doing that, the other person eventually it will just click and they'll get it and they'll know, okay, I can love you. I'm
Mm-hmm.
angry, but let me tell you what I'm angry, what's going on
Okay.
with me. But I would tell that person, just continue to be vulnerable with that
Okay.
spouse, and you would hope that the other spouse will be vulnerable as well with you to
Okay.
let that guard down.
Okay. So modeling the appropriate behavior eventually will bring that person forward to you, and they will also start to model and show that appropriate behavior. They will open up and start to communicate with you. It really sounds like you're saying when it's a relationship, it's no longer about I, it's about us.
Yes.
And so sometimes one person has to take the high road, and they may have to take it more than once until the other person can meet up with them there. I think sometimes when we think about relationships and even communication, we think everything is 50-50. But I'm hearing you, and everything isn't always 50-50. So that says that sometimes it's going to be 80-20, 60-40, 70-30.
And that's correct.
Okay, and that's okay, right? And as long as the other person eventually moves up and y'all connect again and work it out.
Yeah, because when you're in relationships, marriage, you lose the concept of me. It's about
Mm-hmm.
us. And what I mean by that is, let's say if we get into an argument,
Mm-hmm.
if I want to scream and curse and say all these negative things, am I doing
Mm-hmm.
that for the me, or am I doing that for the we? And the we is our marriage. So if you think about it, I did that for the me. If I'm cussing and screaming, my
Mm-hmm.
goal is to improve my marriage. So I can't just react. I have to sit down and say, if I curse my husband out or I curse my partner out, is that for the me or for the we? Well, that's for the
Mm-hmm.
me. So then I have to rechange my sentence and say, you know what, honey, I'm upset with you right now. I'm hurt
Okay.
by your actions and what you've done. I want us to get better. At that moment, I did it for the we because
Okay.
it's improving my marriage and it's helping us move forward versus staying in a stagnant place in our relationship.
Okay, that sounds interesting and sounds appropriate. But along with that, I think sometimes people think, well, I'm not going to yell and scream. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm not going to say anything at all. Is that effective in communication
That,
if you're not expressing any feelings instead of you don't want to be a yeller or a screamer, so you go the extreme opposite and just don't express anything?
and that's one of the disconnections that people having to do. So that's more of a
Okay.
disconnection. You withdraw from it. I don't want to face this problem. I don't want to talk about this conflict. I'm just going to withdraw and keep to myself. But that's a form of disconnecting, and that's
Okay.
not for the we in the marriage.
Okay.
That's for you. That your purpose of you doing that.
So it's just another way of you making it about I and not about we. And people have to recognize there are two extremes to that, and they do either or.
Yes.
Okay, so that's important. So now you've got them starting to communicate. What do they need to do going forward? They've learned how to be the initiator, the inquirer. So what they've learned how to be authentic, which I need you just to go into a little bit more detail about being authentic.
Being authentic is this. It's like being present in the here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about me putting myself in your shoes to kind of feel what you're feeling and to understand what you're feeling. And being authentic is being real.
Being genuine.
Yes.
Showing up as who you are with the vulnerabilities that you have. Because that's scary. You also mentioned vulnerabilities. It is really scary to allow yourself to be vulnerable with another person, even the person you're married to. So how do you help them get through that?
In order to be vulnerable, you have to, it's like if you want to move forward in your marriage and you want to develop this connection with your spouse, you have to let that guard down. Because think about it, if I never let my guard down, I'm never letting my spouse connect with me. It's a big, let's say, fortress that's there. But if I want to have that connection, that emotional connection, that physical connection with my spouse, I have to let my guard down and be vulnerable. And for me, I think vulnerability, people look at it as a weakness, but it's so much as a strength more than a weakness.
Okay, tell me about how you see it as a strength.
I see it as a strength because it helps you within your relationship move forward within your relationship. If I keep that wall, that terrace built up, I'm never going to let anyone in and connect with me, and I will never be authentic. But if I let that wall come down and I connect with my spouse, I'm being vulnerable, but I'm connected with my spouse and we're loving each other and we're moving forward within our marriage.
Okay, because building up a wall not only blocks people out, but it keeps you from receiving and giving as well, which is a two-way street in communication. You have to be able to receive and you have to be able to give as well. And so vulnerability is positive in that it allows us to grow, is what I hear you saying. It allows us to feel, not only feel our own emotions, but feel what the other person is going through as well. And we grow from that experience. It's like taking a risk with your career, or you decide, today I want to go skydiving, but to fully experience it, you've got to take that risk and do it. You can't just say, oh, it looks like it's a thrill, it looks like it may be good, and you just sit back in the chair. You actually have to jump into it.
Taking that leap of faith.
Okay, okay. That sounds really good, and it sounds like it can really help couples. And just in relationships in general, people get along much better and understand each other. So we've got respect, we've got being genuine. What else would you suggest?
Well, those are just the major things. So let's say you're just laying that foundation. So those are the things that you need. Foundation is for just having that healthy communication with each other to establish, like, well, how are we disconnecting? Because people don't even realize that they're disconnecting from their spouse. So when I go with that disconnection, they're thinking, wow, I didn't even realize just by me keeping to myself that I was disconnecting.
Right.
But you are. And your partner is starving to say, hey, please talk to me. Let me know what's going on. Right. So establishing those disconnections are key. And then once it's established, then how can we get back on the right path so we can start walking together on our journey of life?
Okay. Well, it sounds like, since oftentimes people don't even realize, like you said, they've disconnected, it sounds like it would be important for people at different points in their relationships to do a checkpoint or a review. Stop and say, where are we in this marriage now? Or where are we in this friendship? Hey, are you good? Am I good? Is this relationship good? It's important to stop and do those things so that you can face problems as soon as they happen and start to work through them. It sounds like that's important. Okay, so we've got a lot from you today on relationships, really good information that couples can use. Once again, you taught us how to be the initiator, how to be the inquirer, being respectful, being authentic. All those are great things. Is there any final piece of advice you'd like to give to people learning how to communicate?
Like you were saying, just checking in with each other on a daily basis. Just, hey, how was your day today? What's going on with you? Just checking in, because you never know what a person is going through until you open your mouth and speak and ask to see what's going on. I would say check on your partner on a daily basis. I think that's key, because you don't want a build-up to happen. And then when they let you know, it's in a negative format that they tell you everything.
Okay. Okay, so being proactive sounds good for healthy relationships. Okay, great. Well, thanks for being with us, Stephanie. Coming up next, Tatiana Brown will be here to talk about anger management and how you can register for classes that are available at Ascension Counseling Center to help us improve the way we deal with our anger. We'll be right back.
Ascension Parish, a parish steeped in tradition. It's a place where generations of families have continued to enjoy a lifestyle that centers on community living and community celebration. It's a place where we care about each other and we care about ourselves. For more than 50 years, the Ascension Counseling Center has continued the tradition of helping individuals and families change behaviors and change lives. The Ascension Counseling Center.
Welcome back. Joining us now is Tatiana Brown. Tatiana is here to speak with us today about anger management. How are you today, Tatiana?
I'm doing okay, and you?
I'm great. It's a pleasure having you here today. So talk to us a little bit about anger management.
Okay. I run the anger management program at Ascension Counseling Center. It's a 6-week program, and we meet once a week for an hour. And usually clients are referred by the court or their job, or sometimes some of their spouses also call in wanting their spouse to get anger management.
Okay, because they recognize an issue.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so they call and ask, can their spouse come? Okay. Is it a group that's open to the community, or do we just serve our clients that are existing clients at the agency?
We serve existing clients and also open to the community.
Okay, so I'm calling you, I need help with anger. What can I expect?
What can you expect? The first session, I like to kind of have it as an individual session just to see if the client is appropriate to join the anger management group.
Okay.
And we just go over different things. It's just a get to know you, period.
Okay.
And I find out what's their anger problems, and we kind of address it a little bit. But then the next session, they're immediately into the group.
Okay. So that individual session with you gives you an opportunity to learn about them, to know their triggers.
Right.
I assume so that when you put them in the group, you know what to look for with that person.
Exactly.
And if their anger is going a little too far, how to bring them back. Okay. So now they move to group, and you said there's 6 weeks of group. So tell us what happens in the group.
The first week of group is talking about myths of anger.
Okay.
And certain myths are that anger is inherited.
Okay.
Anger is not inherited. People say, oh, I got this from my mom, or I got my anger from my dad, or siblings or family members tell them, you know, you're just like your father. You've always been angry like that.
Exactly.
But it's not true. Anger is a learned behavior, and we teach the clients that anger can be changed to different behaviors, such as being assertive.
Okay. I can guarantee you right now, a lot of parents are smiling saying, my kid can stop blaming me for his or her anger issues. Okay, so just like we learned how to be angry, we can unlearn that and learn other behaviors instead.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. So tell me a little bit more, because this is interesting.
Okay. Also, anger automatically leads to aggression. That's untrue. Not everyone gets angry and wants to hurt someone or dominate or intimidate someone else. We learned that give them different tactics such as relaxation exercises, muscle progression exercises to relieve that tension, or time out, to walk away, to learn different strategies.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing you saying that is anger is a natural part, a natural emotion, just like sadness, just like happiness. It's natural. All of us have it.
Right.
It sounds like it's about the way we express it.
Exactly.
Okay, so you talk about aggressiveness, and you said that's a tendency to dominate, to want to take over. Sometimes it leads to physical harm.
Right.
So would then assertiveness be the opposite?
Exactly.
Okay.
Assertive is the opposite. You get your point across without hurting the other person's feelings, and just expressing what you need to say.
Okay, but in an appropriate
manner.
Okay, all right. So what are the other things we learn in anger management?
We learn the triggers. What is a trigger, such as physical,
Okay.
and that is your rapid heartbeat racing, your chest tightening when you have anger, and also behavior like clenching of your fist, that such things. Emotional, when you feel hurt or fear, and that can change to anger, and also your cognitive thoughts, such as the negative self-thought. And you talk, oh, I know this person hates me and is mean to me, and I need to get back revenge. So we try to change that to a positive self-talk.
Okay. So it sounds like when you're talking, using that negative self-talk, you're actually feeding the fuel of anger and making it worse.
Exactly.
So instead of that, maybe talking it out with somebody else, maybe looking at other options and saying, well, maybe the intent wasn't to hurt me. Because I think a lot of times anger comes from feelings of hurt.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
It definitely comes from that. You decide, well, I know this person doesn't like me. This person is doing something wrong to me, so I need to get revenge, instead of thinking maybe I should sit down with this person and talk it out, which would be assertive.
Right.
But this person goes the opposite and being aggressive.
Okay. I know a lot of times people confuse assertiveness and aggression. They think when you're being assertive, when you're expressing your feelings and your concerns, you're being aggressive and you want it to turn into a major argument or something. But that's just an appropriate way to take care of yourself and express your feelings without having to raise your tone of voice. Is that what I hear you saying?
And that's just like what you just said is confrontation. People think confrontation is a negative term, but it's not. You have to confront things to get things cleared out.
Okay. So it's all in the tone of voice, not as much as what you say, is what I'm hearing you say. Okay, so you help them recognize their triggers, and I hear you say that it's physical, it's behavior, it's emotional, and it's cognitive. What else would a client have to look forward to in anger management?
Okay. We also talk about their career costs.
Okay.
Most of the people get referred from their employers.
Okay.
This is like the last straw for them. So you get sent to anger management. If you go through and you make it all the way through, you're great. Hopefully you change those behaviors in your job. So we talk about that as well, because a lot of individuals are sent from their employers, and also health costs. Because a lot of aggression, a lot of anger can also lead to heart attack, stroke, all of those such things.
Okay.
So
that's interesting, because sometimes you hear people say, if I don't let this anger out, it's just going to make me sick. But now I hear you saying if you let it out, and you let it out in the wrong way, it actually can cause more health problems than not letting it out. Okay, so it can lead to heart attacks and strokes. Okay, that's very interesting. Is it a challenge to have a group of people in the anger management group who are dealing with anger? How do you moderate that?
The funny thing is, instead of riling each other up, they're there for each other and help to calm each other down.
Okay.
So that's the great thing.
Okay, so talking about their triggers and cues in group allows each group member to hold them accountable and say, hey, I see your trigger. You know, you're getting angry. Like, for instance, give me an example, something I'm thinking about. Maybe in group you guys are talking about something that happened when they were in school, education. Maybe they had a problem with reading or something, and now that subject comes up now. How's that handled in group, and how does that trigger that person?
Well, the reason for the group is for the individuals to talk to each other.
Okay.
I'm just moderating. I'm just there, but for them to lend support to one another.
Okay.
So if I see someone struggling, I might say, so-and-so, do you have an input that can help this person?
Okay, and that's how they help each other. Okay. All right, so sometimes things that happen in our past can come back up and affect us now, and you look to the other group members to remind them, hey, this happened in your past, you're in a different place now, and now you know how to deal with this. Use your new coping skills that you've learned. Okay, that's really good. Tell us a little bit about passive aggressiveness.
Passive aggressiveness, okay.
Yeah, because I understand that's a part of anger management. You're teaching them about that. Okay.
When you're feeling hurt and you're feeling someone is attacking you, a passive aggressive person will just pretend like let it slide, let the person walk all over them. But really in the back of their head, they're thinking of ways to get revenge eventually. And what happens is the other person has no clue why they're mad at them. And they never talked about it, so how can I'm so confused about what's going on right now? And that tends to be a passive aggressive person.
That's interesting. So how do you help them deal with that?
Confront their anger. They need to confront it, and they need to talk to that individual. So we teach them assertive skills to confront that anger.
So do you guys role play?
We do role play in the group.
Good, because I think that's important. It gives them a chance to play out the skills they've learned and see how effective it is. Okay, so what is something else that you guys do in group that you want to share with us?
We also talk about anger in the family. So we, just like they said, well, I learned this from my parents. I inherited this from my dad. We talk about each client describes how their family in anger played a role in their family, and how their mom reacted to certain things and how their dad reacted to certain things, as well as their siblings. So we discussed that as well.
And so that helps them identify where all this began and how they can change it. Okay. Do you suggest to them that they go home and maybe talk to their family about some of the things they've learned?
Individuals ask, can I keep this? Can I bring this home to show my family what we're learning in here, and what I can help them with as well? So that makes me really happy when they want to help their family as well as themselves.
Good. That's great, because you have to be able to take what you've learned and apply it in the real world in order to be successful. So I think that's really great. You also spoke about muscle relaxation that you teach them to help them deal with it, because you said there are physical cues that come up, like clenching your fist, shortness of breath, you're getting real angry, chest tightening up. So how would you get them to relax? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that session we do breathing exercise and also the muscle exercise. It's about 5 minutes each. And turn off the lights, and you will flex and tense each muscle group in your body.
Okay.
By the end of it, most of the individuals are falling asleep.
Because they're so relaxed.
Okay. But I have them do that each night before they go to bed.
Oh, good.
That helps them go to sleep, and also to practice it. So when they know they're getting angry, I have something, a tool that I can use.
Okay, great. And it's working? It has been effective? Okay, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we also have the anger meter. Every day they rate from a scale to 1 to 10 how their anger was, and we'll discuss it the next week in the group.
Okay. And do you see over time that the anger meter is getting lower and lower in its numbers?
Yes.
Is that what clients are reporting?
Yes.
Okay. What are some of the things they've said to you are most beneficial for them?
The anger meter, and also the progressive muscle relaxation exercise.
Because they can do that on their own, away from you, and they can even teach family members how to do it, then that helps them. Okay. When they actually are able to finally identify that they're being angry, and they see their fists are clenched, and in that moment, if they're not thinking about or aren't able to relax their muscles or do the deep breathing, do you suggest maybe that they walk away?
Walk away and regroup is the most important thing.
Okay.
Because if you feel yourself getting to that point, you know nothing productive is going to come out of this conversation.
Okay.
So walking away, taking a deep breath, and just hopefully after you take those deep breaths, you think about the conversation, what was said, and realize maybe the way I'm about to go at it is not the correct way to go.
Okay. That's really interesting. And so for clients who really, really struggle, or community members really, really struggle with anger, do you find that the group is beneficial, or do you think you need to pull them aside and work with them one-on-one for a while?
I let them finish the group, but also after the group is finished, I keep them as a client.
Okay. And you continue to work with them with their anger issues.
Because I won't graduate someone if I feel that they don't deserve to graduate from the
program. They haven't successfully worked through the program.
Right.
Okay. That's really important. So you give them the option. Do you let them know this in the beginning, that if you don't progress through as you should, then I would recommend that you stay in counseling?
If you don't progress, and also if you do not show up to certain sessions, you will not complete the program.
Okay.
And you would have to repeat it. I've had clients repeat as well.
Okay.
Because if they've missed, it's a so short amount of time. If you miss 2 sessions, you're not learning.
Right, because it's structured in that amount of time.
Right.
Okay, so you have to be there to learn it. Okay, really good. So if they are interested and they want to come talk to you, because I know people have issues with anger and people don't realize hurt feelings, like you said, are tied to anger. That's one of the biggest reasons why people become angry. So if they're really interested in it, how can they go about becoming a part of your group?
Calling in.
Okay. So call Ascension Counseling.
Ascension Counseling Center, and talk to our intake coordinator, Sarah.
Okay.
And she will get them connected with me.
Okay, and it falls under community group again.
Right.
So anybody in the community can attend the group at a cost of $10 per session? Okay, great.
The only thing we do not do is have spouses do anger management together.
Okay, tell us why.
Conflict. It's too much conflict. You know, there's good confrontation and there's bad confrontation. And when 2 spouses are in there together, it's just arguing and nothing productive is happening.
Okay.
So if one spouse wants to come right now, then that's fine. And then they would have to wait 6 weeks for the next spouse to come.
I think that's a great idea, because that way each of them individually can learn the tools to deal with anger, how to confront in the appropriate manner, how to deal with conflict, then bring what they've learned together and use it at home. Okay, that's great. It sounds like a wonderful program.
Yeah, I enjoyed teaching it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tatiana. It's been a pleasure having you today.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Please keep watching. We will be back right after this short break.
We see a lot of children that are actually being raised by their grandparents. There are so many resources that we can help you with to help you figure out what to do with this child, to help this child understand what his goal in life is. Having one little boy come in and hate his life and have a scowl on his face and not want to be there, and then a month or so later befriend him and come in and smile at me and talk to me and give me a hug, which those children don't do that very often. So by having that hug rewards me more than any paycheck that a person could give me. It's more fulfilling than anything else that job could possibly give me, by seeing a patient or a child or an adult's life completely turned around. Hi, my name is Lisa Lopez, and I'm a nurse at the Ascension Counseling Center.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of Ascension Counseling Center's video newsletter. You can catch replays of the program exclusively on Ascension 21 on the days and times listed on your screen, or anytime on Ascension 21's YouTube channel. We look forward to many more episodes where we can talk about what's available at Ascension Counseling Center and how our programs can help change lives. Next time, we'll hear from Larice Harrison, adolescent counselor, about a new community group we call I Rise. It's geared toward greeting responsible, intelligent, successful, and empowered young people. Please remember, Ascension Counseling Center is here by way of your support. We are a department of Ascension Parish government, and as such, we are all parish employees. We're funded by a 2-mil property tax millage, which means that $2 from every $1,000 you pay in taxes goes to support our agency, so we can provide free and low-cost mental health and substance abuse outpatient services to residents of Ascension. We have 2 locations, one in Gonzales at 1112 Southeast Ascension Complex Boulevard, which is off Worthy Road across from the courthouse and next to the health unit, and one at 419 Memorial Drive in Donaldsonville. It's next to Prevost Hospital. You can reach us at either location by calling 225-450-1016. You can also find us on the web at www.ascensionparish.net/mh and on Facebook at Ascension Counseling Center. Thanks for your support, and until next time, from everyone at Ascension Counseling Center, thank you for watching.